Hi, Tiffany here with Hot Mom's Dinner Club. Today I'm going to go over some basic do's and don'ts when it comes to cutting boards. I'm also very excited to be doing this from our newly remodeled Carolina room. So one by one, the rooms are getting finished here at our North Carolina remodel. So let's get started on cutting board basics. We're just going to go over the basic safety, maintenance, and cleaning. So for safety, when you're using cutting boards, always place a cloth underneath your cutting board. This will prevent it from sliding on you while you're cutting. For instance, if you put a cutting board on top of your counter and there's nothing in between there, it could just slide on you while you're cutting, cause you to cut yourself. So I'll show you a little bit later. We'll give you visuals on all these things. But if you put a cloth underneath there and even a slightly moist cloth under your cutting board, it will prevent it from sliding and you won't have to worry about that. Clean your cutting boards after each use with soap and water. Never put a wooden board through the dishwasher or leave it soaking in a sink. Wooden boards are very porous, so they should never be in water for any prolonged period of time. That could cause them to absorb the water. It could cause the glue to soften and your different layers of the wood to become unlaminated. It could cause cracks and warping. So you never want to put your wooden cutting boards through the dishwasher or soak them. Plastic cutting boards are supposedly dishwasher safe, but you still run the risk of warping or cracking even on a plastic cutting board. It's always more desirable just to wash them with soap and water and then do a deeper clean periodically to prevent souring and bacteria growth. Allow your cutting boards to air dry and air dry thoroughly, okay, before you stack them. If you stack wet cutting boards together, the water on the board can actually cause bacteria to grow. Especially if there's two together, you're trapping that water inside those two boards and you're allowing bacteria to grow and they will definitely sour overnight. So you want to allow your cutting boards to air dry. You want to keep them preferably on a rack, elevated so the water's dripping off, lots of space in between them so they can dry thoroughly. And then you can stack them, or perhaps you have one of the cabinets that have the dividers in there so you can place them in there, and that allows space between each board. You have to have that space so they can dry thoroughly. Next, you have a choice of different boards. You have your wooden boards and you have your plastic boards. Each of these have different pros and cons, and also they have different cleaning and maintenance, which we're going to go over that as well. So your wooden boards, they're obviously more aesthetically pleasing than your plastic boards. They can also be easier on your knives than the plastic boards. The wood's a little bit softer, so when you're using your knife, you're not damaging the edge on your knife as bad as if you are the harder plastic cutting boards. The wooden cutting boards, however, they are porous. You should use caution when you're cutting raw meat on them or any other highly juicy, non-acidic foods, okay? So just be careful with that. Make sure you wash them very well. Some people also have designated cutting boards for raw meats and vegetables and etc. So you can do that as well. But at any rate, you do want to make sure that you clean those very well, especially after your raw meat. Wooden cutting boards may need to be reseasoned from time to time. So you'll need to keep an eye on that. We'll go over that later. How you can tell if it needs to be reseasoned, you'll just do a simple water test to see if the water beads up on your oil barrier or if it's being absorbed into the wood. Now, plastic boards, on the other hand, are more lightweight. They're easier to use, they're easier to clean, they withstand higher temperatures. So like we mentioned earlier, they could possibly go through the dishwasher because they can withstand those high temperatures. And also they can withstand harsher chemicals. You're gonna see later when we're doing some cleaning, you have the option of putting straight bleach on a plastic board. You'll never want to put straight bleach on a wooden cutting board, but you can use these harsher chemicals on the plastic boards to get them clean and to sanitize. You'll have to clean your wooden boards a little bit differently. Plastic cutting boards, however, are harder on your knives, as we mentioned. The knives can also create surface gouges on the cutting board, and these surface gouges can cause tiny fragments of plastic particles that can actually contaminate your food, because as you're chipping away at that plastic, you're chipping off these little pieces. This can also create the crevices down in your board that the bacteria can get into and grow as well. And these crevices do become hard to clean to get the cleaner down in there and to clean out that bacteria. So you've got your pros and cons here of the wooden versus the plastic cutting boards. Let's go over the basic cleaning and maintenance of both now. So here's our different scenarios for the cleaning and the maintenance of the wooden cutting boards and the plastic cutting boards. So on your wooden cutting boards, you never want to use bleach, which is a very harsh chemical, straight vinegar because it's so acidic, or SOS pads because the SOS pads can actually damage your wood, scratch and scrape your wood. So you do want to be careful what chemicals you put on your wooden cutting boards. Now you do want to wash them with mild dish soap and water after each use. You could also make a 50-50 water vinegar solution. You could even put it in a spray bottle and label it, and you can always spray that on as well to kind of help clean it. Occasionally, your wooden cutting boards will need to be re-seasoned. That means that your oil barrier is kind of breaking down and allowing liquids and water, bacteria to be absorbed into the board. So what you want to do is reapply that oil barrier. So I will demonstrate inside how you do the test on the board and also show you how to apply the mineral oil. Always use food-safe mineral oil. Never use fatty oils like vegetable, canola, olive oils on that. Always use food-safe mineral oil. You can also, too, from time to time, if you think it needs a deep clean, apply a coarse kosher salt, a half a lemon, and possibly even some baking soda on your board. And then you can just do a little rub with that, and that will kill any other bacteria and get down into the grooves, any surface hairline cracks, any crevices you have in there. That'll get down in there and get that out. Again, after all of these deep cleaning methods, you want to wash your cutting board before and after you do them. So before you apply the deep cleaning, you want to just clean it with the mild detergent so that you're getting your food particles, etc., off the boards. Then you want to apply whatever deep cleaning method that you're doing. Then you want to wash it again, rinse it well, and then allow it to dry thoroughly. Now let's move on to the plastic cutting board options. These are your deep cleaning options to kind of get rid of discoloration in the board. Sometimes when you grate a lot of carrots, chop some herbs, sometimes they leave a green stain on your cutting board. So to get the discoloration off, I like to do a straight bleach soak. I lay out paper towels and then just apply bleach, just kind of let it soak 20 minutes to an hour, and then again, wash again, rinse well to get all that residual bleach off of there. SOS pads too, I believe, work well for this. Just again, you want to make sure that you wash and rinse well afterwards because the SOS pads have the steel wool, stainless steel particles that actually can come off onto your cutting board. So you don't want to leave any of those little pieces, little fragments left on that board to get in your food. So make sure you wash it again and rinse well. These two I like to use to get rid of those stains on the cutting board. I want my boards to appear white. If I find one starting to sour or discolor, that's when I will apply one of these solutions. For the most part, I just use mild soap and water for mine. Safer alternatives. There's lots of safer alternatives out there if you don't feel like using bleach or SOS pads on your boards. A lot of people don't like to use those harsh chemicals. They don't think it's food safe. So that being said, there's tons of websites out there for checking out safer alternatives. I just don't believe that they take the color stains off as good as these two. But you have your safer alternatives. You have white vinegar, 3% hydrogen peroxide you can use, which is a lot safer than using bleach. You can make different rubs. There's lots of different ratios and different items you can use to create these rubs. One might be just similar to what we're doing on the wooden cutting board. Paste, you also have paste that you can mix. Here's a couple different ratios on products there. You can use these paste, use an old toothbrush and get down in those grooves. You can also do an overnight sink soak. This is definitely an option. I don't use it often because I usually don't have a sink that I can just leave a board sitting in all night long. Also, a lot of my boards don't fit into the sink. I use a lot of larger boards. So, I mean, if you do want to leave a sink full of bleach water, you could do a 1 tablespoon bleach, 1 quart of water solution in your sink, Let your board soak in that overnight. So there's lots of different options here. Let's go inside and do some demonstrations. I'm going to start with the wooden cutting board. This is a nice board. I mainly use this more or less as a platter, just kind of for presentation purposes. You could definitely use this as a utility, everyday type board. I just want to kind of show you how to keep this nice finish on here so you're not destroying your cutting board. First of all, we'll do the water test to kind of see how our oil barrier is holding up. Then secondly, I'm going to show you how to apply the mineral oil on here, and then we'll also show you how to do the rub, the lemon, baking soda, and kosher salt rub on the board to do that deep, thorough clean, okay? All right, so to see if your board does need to be resealed or not, you're just gonna wanna put some water on here and just kind of see if it beads up on here or if it starts to be absorbed. So we still have our water still beading up here, so obviously this is a pretty good. See how it just beads and runs off? So this really doesn't need to be reseasoned, but I'm going to show you how to apply that mineral oil on here now. So you're just going to want a dry cloth and your food safe mineral oil. Never use just olive oil or other regular kitchen oils. You're going to want to make sure that your cutting board is clean and dry before you apply the mineral oil. Basically, you're just going to rub it on in circular motions. And you can apply this 2 or 3 times all over the board. Once you get it all rubbed in very well, like I said, a couple of coats of the oil, you're going to want to let it sit for an hour and a half to 2 hours to get completely dry. And then you're going to come back and you're just going to take off all your excess oil. And that should reseal it and keep a nice finish on your board. Now let's say you want to do a deep clean on your board. You can always use some a little bit of kosher salt. I got a half a lemon here. You can also sprinkle some baking soda in there as well. And this will basically create a paste that's going to get down into your grooves. You can see it's starting to kind of foam up there. Baking soda is great for cleaning, so it absorbs your acids, it absorbs odors. When you add it in here, it's actually making like a mildly abrasive, a scouring detergent. So this will get down into any of your grooves and crevices, hairline cracks, all that, and just deeply clean and pull out any bacteria that's down in there. After you've covered the whole surface area of the board, you want to wash it again in mild soap and water, rinse it well, dry thoroughly, and then at that point in time, if you want to apply some mineral oil, go for it. These are just ideas to keep your wooden cutting boards in pristine shape. Next, I'm going to show you the plastic cutting board. It's just a cheap little, thin little plastic cutting board. I'm going to cut some carrots. And I'm going to cut some herbs on a couple of these boards just to kind of show you how they get stained and how to remove those stains. I'm going to use the bleach soaking method. I'm also going to show you for safety how to put that cloth under your cutting board to keep your cutting boards from moving around on you. So with a cutting board, if you have it just straight on your countertop, nothing in between, it could slide on you. While you're chopping on stuff, your cutting board's moving and sliding on you, okay? Now let's say you put a dry cloth on there. It's still got a little bit of movement, all right? So when you're chopping again, see how it's moving with me as I'm chopping. Now let's try one more time with a slightly damp cloth. Doesn't move near as much. So when you're chopping, it's staying put. It's not sliding around the countertop on you. So it's a lot safer to have this slightly damp towel under your cutting board to keep it from moving on you. Now I'm going to cut some herbs and carrots on these boards and show you how to get out those tough stains. Okay, so I have definitely seen herb and carrot stains a lot worse than this. But at any rate, I'm going to show you how I remove the stubborn color stains. So I just place paper towels in a double layer, kind of making sure to cover the whole stained area. You can definitely wear gloves when you're working with the bleach. You can also put it into a smaller container to work with, especially if you have a full gallon of bleach, because it can be very heavy and make it easy to spill. If you do put the bleach into a different container, make sure that you clean it out well when you're done, or label it well if you're going to keep bleach in it. So before you apply the bleach, you might want to take an old towel that you don't mind getting some bleach stains on, or even put some more paper towels down underneath of it, or an already white towel, just to kind of protect your countertop. Then I just pour capfuls of bleach onto the paper towels until they are completely covered. I also just kind of use the cap to push the bleach down into the paper towels and just kind of spread it in. The paper towels will hold the bleach right on the spot for you so that it starts working on the stains. So just kind of keep it on your cutting board and keep it covering the stain area. You can water down your bleach if you're concerned about the safety of it. You can dilute it for sure. Even if you dilute it, you'll still be getting good stain removal results, and of course you will be sanitizing your boards as well. So remember, now this is just for the plastic cutting boards. It's not for your wooden cutting boards. Also, too, once they have been soaked, remember that you'll need to rinse them well and then wash them again in soap and water to remove any remaining bleach on the boards. Now this will leave your boards clean and odor-free. So you know when you start smelling that odor, that just means that bacteria is starting to grow on your board. So if you got a smelly cutting board, you need to clean it well and sanitize it. Okay, so I'm just going to let this soak now for about a half an hour, and then we'll check it out. And now for the reveal. Drum roll, please. All right, so we're just going to take these paper towels off and check that out. All the stains are gone. Perfect. There they are, clean as a whistle. Nice and bright and white. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you learned something. If nothing else, I hope you thought I was entertaining. Ping pong, anyone? If you like what I'm doing, press the like button, subscribe, or become a member of Hot Mom's Dinner Club. Thanks again.